Hey, American Government class, welcome back. It is Thursday, January 14th, 2021. Hope you're having a wonderful week. We have a bit of a doozy of a class, 5 things on the agenda. It's a little different, but don't worry, some of it's just reminders. Here's what we got. We're going to talk about last class and the current event you did. Then I'm going to give you a reminder about email and someone named MLK and what that means for you. After that, we're finally going to get introduced to our political processes unit. We're going to kind of preview what we're about to learn in this unit. I'm going to go ahead and hit you with the citizenship notes that we've been talking about for days. We're going to learn what it means to be a citizen, how to become a citizen, the different ways you can become a citizen. Once you're a citizen, what you must do, and all that good stuff. Then I'll hit you with your assignment and attendance question, and it'll be into the weekend for us anyway. We'll still have Friday, but you know what I'm saying. Now, last class, you guys were to do a current event based on the events that happened at the Capitol last week. And those of you who handed it in, let me just say great job. You guys did a fantastic job. There were a few things that I wanted to talk to you guys about that I'll talk to you about via email. But overall, really good job. Of course, we're talking about the mob of people that stormed the Capitol and breached the Capitol building, pushed back security, and broke into the building, kind of taking it over for a short amount of time. It is something that I said hadn't happened in over 100 years. It was actually 200 years since the last time the security at our Capitol building has been breached. It was in 1814. For the record, we're in 2021, so over 200 years ago. It was part of the War of 1812, where the British also burnt down the White House. It wasn't called the White House at the time. It was called the Executive Mansion. But it has been that long since we've had any type of breach in security like we saw last week. I can tell you, I was watching the events unfold live with Mr. Finn. We were at the school watching him on a laptop together and couldn't believe what was going on. I'm sure you have not heard the end of it. I know a bunch of people have been arrested, and there's certainly more to come. Now, that was our current event. Hopefully you guys were able to do that. If you didn't, still, there's time to do it. As always, make sure you get in the assignment. Better late than never. Late assignment is always better than a 0. But today, we're going to move on. But before we do, I got a couple of things. One, an email reminder. I wanted to get back to you guys about this because we have a few new kids in the class since the last time we spoke about this. And also, it's just a good reminder as far as email goes. When you guys email me an assignment, I would please like you to, in the subject line, write the name of the class, American Government. If it's an assignment, put assignment. If it's a test, put test. If it's an attendance question, put attendance question. And then put the date. Obviously, I get a lot of emails from different students for different classes, and plenty more emails on top of that. So this really helps me find your work that you're submitting to me. This will help you. So help me, help you. Make sure you do this. Put the date of the day you're sending it in. Don't always put January 14th because it won't always be January 14th. That's today. So on today's assignment, this is what your subject line should look like in your email. Then, of course, in the body or in an attachment, go ahead and hit me with your assignment. That's announcement number 1. Reminder, and another announcement, number 2, MLK. Hopefully you know what that stands for, Martin Luther King Jr. He was a very important civil rights leader that hopefully you've learned about in Mr. Finn's American History class. We do not have school next Monday because it is Martin Luther King Day. So we will not be having school. Don't show up. Don't be looking for videos. There won't be any. If there is, there's certainly a mistake. You have no school on Monday for any classes, including this one. That means our weekly review quiz will be pushed back to next week on Thursday. So we'll have this class Tuesday and Thursday again. So Thursday will be your weekly review quiz next week. So email reminder, subject line should look like this. Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. Make sure you don't come to school. Now, to the meat and potatoes of our video. Political processes. This unit, we've touched on it a little bit. I've told you guys a little bit about what we're going to be going over. but we're going to talk about all the processes in American government that kind of deal with government and deal with people being political. Not just the people who are in government, but your responsibility, the citizens, the people of this country. We're going to talk about what it means to vote, how to vote. We're going to talk about the different types of elections. We're going to talk about citizenship. We're going to talk about political parties. We're going to talk about beliefs and the political spectrum. We're going to take a survey. You guys are going to find out whether you're more Democratic or liberal, or if you're more Republican or more conservative. Maybe you're neither. Maybe you're right in the middle. Maybe you're not in the middle. You're a little bit of both, but you have some far out ideas that nobody's thought of yet. We're going to go ahead and kind of just dissect all of this information. And really, this is, like I said, where it gets fun for you guys, because you get to learn a little bit about who you are and the beliefs that you have and what that means for you politically and as far as American government goes. So that's what we'll be talking about. It's a very short unit, but like I said, it is probably the most fun that we will have, maybe a couple units later down the road, but this is a pretty good one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now today, like I said, we're going to talk about citizenship. I emailed you a paper that looks like this, but without the words written in there, for your citizenship notes. What we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I'm going to type those notes in for you and explain everything that goes along with becoming a citizen and what it means to be a citizen. So if you don't have that email out, go ahead, go to your email, download it, do whatever you need to do. If you want to copy it down on a piece of paper or print it out so that you can write on it, that's fine with me. However you want to do this so that you can write it all on the notes with what I sent you is fine with me. You can hit pause button, we'll go ahead and wait for you. We'll be here when you get back. And let's get into these citizenship notes. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today, as mentioned before, we're going to be talking all about citizenship. Now, you should have this handout in your email. It was sent to you this morning at 8 a.m. And basically, to give you a little summary of what we're going to be talking about, it's going to be everything related to citizenship. Now, this hits home for a lot of us because maybe some of us are trying to gain our citizenship. Maybe we have gained our citizenship in the past. Maybe we have friends or family who are trying to gain citizenship to the United States right now. Or maybe you're already a citizen and you're trying to become a citizen of another country and have dual citizenship. So we're going to talk about all of that today. We'll try to get this done quick. Whatever you want to do, if you want to type up these notes or if you want to print it out and write them, just make sure that you have all of these notes in your notes, I guess. Make sure that you have everything that's been written on here already, as well as the stuff we're going to add in today. Now, let's begin with what is a citizen? Well, simply put, a citizen is a person who owes allegiance to the United States and who is entitled to its protection. Now, this will obviously change depending on the country that you're talking about. For example, an Italian citizen is a person who owes allegiance to Italy and who is entitled to its protection. Meaning, you claim that country as your own. You are for this country, and therefore, that country will do whatever it can to protect you. There are American citizens, there are Italian citizens, there are Mexican citizens, there are Brazilian citizens. Any place where you have a country, you will have citizens. Now, the next topic is, in what ways are people granted citizenship? And there's three. I'm sure you guys have a lot of ideas in mind. If we were in class, I would say, how can you become a citizen? First one that I guarantee somebody would say, and maybe you're thinking right now, is marriage. You can marry someone. Well, that's kind of true. But let's start with the basics. And we're going to get our dual language on today. We're going to drop a little Latin on you. We've been speaking too much English. The first way that you can be granted citizenship is something called jus soli. Say it with me. Jus soli. I don't think any of you guys said it. It's fun to say. Give it a shot. Jus soli. Now that's Latin. And what that means is something very specific. If you look at this word right here, soli, it's Latin, and most of English comes from Latin. If you just move that I and that L, if they switch spots, what word do you get? Soil. And of course, soil is talking about where you are born. So what does jus soli mean? It means right of birthplace, meaning you can be a citizen as long as you are born in the United States. That is one way that you can become a citizen. If you are born here, if your birthplace is America, no matter where your parents are from, no matter where your parents or grandparents were born, if you are born on American soil, you can become an American citizen. And that's something that's granted to us, as we know from last unit, by the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment allows for us to be citizens if we are born on American soil. So jus soli. Let's go ahead, since that's just so much fun, let's make that red. There, oh, we don't want to highlight it. Come on, Mr. Weckbaugh. Maybe that's it. There we go. Jus soli. We'll bold that puppy up too. All right, the next one. We're dropping some more Italian on you. We're dropping some more Latin on you. The next one is jus sanguinis. Tell me you don't want to say that. Jus sanguinis. That is also Latin, and that's fun to say. If you're not saying it yet, you got to say it. It's out of this world. Jus sanguinis. You can't say it without smiling. And what does that mean? Well, sanguinis, right here, this word means blood. So literally translated, this means right of blood. Any ideas what that means? What could that have to do with citizenship? Blood. Some of you are probably thinking already. That means if your blood relatives, mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, are American citizens, then you can claim that you are an American citizen through jus sanguinis. Now, this works again for other countries as well. I have something called dual citizenship. I'm a citizen of the United States of America because I was born here, but I'm also a citizen of Italy because my grandpa was born in Italy, so my mom filed to become a citizen of Italy through jus sanguinis, meaning we have blood in our family that's Italian. So she was able to, and that meant I was able to, and because of our blood, because we had Italian blood, we are able to qualify as Italian citizens. So I was able to fly to Italy and get my Italian passport, and I am a citizen of Italy and America. So you can do that as well. If you wanted to have dual citizenship, as long as you have somebody in your family, in your bloodline, you could ask to become a citizen of another country. So those are the first two ways, and those are the most common. Another thing with jus sanguinis, that means, hey, if you have American parents or Mexican parents or Canadian parents, and you take a flight to, I don't know, Egypt, you want to go and see the pyramids. Your parents are like, hey, before we have this baby, we want to see the pyramids. And you happen to come on out in Egypt, and you're born in Egypt, you can still be an American citizen or a Mexican citizen because your parents are. It doesn't matter that you were born in Egypt. Now, the third way goes back to what you guys were thinking at the beginning, marriage. Not so much, but it's something called naturalization. And you have to go through something called the naturalization process. Now, what is naturalization? I'm glad you asked. It's very simple. It's the way immigrants become citizens of the United States. Simple as that. If you are a citizen of another country and you want to become a citizen of the United States, you must be naturalized. You must become a naturalized citizen. That's the only way. Now, what does that mean? You keep saying naturalized, Mr. Weckbaugh. What does it mean to be naturalized? Well, first and foremost, to become naturalized, you have to have 5 requirements. You have to pass 5 requirements. And basically these 5 requirements are showing that you will be a good American citizen. So the first one is you must have a period of continuous residency in the U.S., and here's the kicker, after entering legally. You can't come to the country illegally and live here for a while and say, hey, I'd like to be a citizen now. You have to come here legally and be either a resident or an alien, and be documented properly and go through all the proper channels. But if you do that, then you have to stay here in the United States for a while. You can't be living in another country. So that's the first step of becoming naturalized and getting your citizenship. The second is that you must show proficiency in English, which is the language that is most commonly used here. Now, we don't have a national language, but English is used the most, and you have to make sure that you can demonstrate that you are proficient in English. What does that mean? It means you must be able to read, write, and of course, speak English. As long as you can do that, you pass the second requirement of becoming naturalized. Now, some of you might be asking, well, how do they check that? We'll go ahead and we'll get to that on number 5. Don't let me forget. Now, number 3, the third requirement of becoming naturalized. What does the government love? They ask for it every year. Sometimes they just take it right out of your paycheck. Yep, they love money. You must pay a fee. There is a fee payment that you have to pay to become a naturalized citizen. And at the same time, you have to declare your support of the principles of American government. Now, we've talked about those principles of American government. We talked about the principles of the Constitution. What does that mean? That means you have to say, hey, you know what? I agree with this style of government. I believe in democracy. I believe that the people should have the vote. I believe that the republic is the best way to have a government. I believe that the people should vote for representatives, and those representatives should do the people's work. That's kind of the principles of American government. You can't go in there saying, hey, I hate the way America does government and I want to overthrow the government and be the only leader. It's not going to work. They're not going to let you become a citizen if you do that. Now, the fourth one seems pretty simple, but a lot of people don't get in because of this. You need to have good moral character. That's right. Can't be a jerk. I mean, I guess technically you could be a jerk, but you can't be a criminal. You can't be a felon. You can't be committing 30 murders and saying, hey, I'd like to, move on over to the United States and become an American citizen. Sure, I'm good buddies with El Chapo and we used to get down in the gang. No, they're not going to let you be a citizen if you are an axe murderer or a gangster with many, many felonies. Now, if you have a speeding ticket or a parking ticket, or maybe, back in high school or when you're in college, you accidentally, you make a bad decision and you get arrested for something, that's not the end of the world. The government still may look down on it a little bit and say, hey, this isn't good, but they're not going to stop you from being a naturalized citizen just because of that. Now, if it's a repeated offense and in high school you got arrested every single weekend and you have 300 parking tickets that you haven't paid, they might be talking to you about that and saying, no dice, can't be a citizen because you were arrested 300 times last year. Now, the fifth one. I said that we'd come visit number 2 for number 5. I said you have to be proficient in English, read, write, and speak it. Well, my friends, how do they do that? They do it at the same time as requirement number 5, where you must show basic knowledge of American history and government. How do you show knowledge? You're already ahead of me. You take a test. That's right. You must take a test to become a citizen. And that test is all about American history and government. What do? How do they check that you're able to read, write, and speak? Well, they give you 100 questions to basically study, 100 different topics. And you study those. You make sure that you understand the depth of that American history and the American government topics that they give you. And when you're going through the naturalization process, they'll have you come in for a meeting with just one other individual. They'll sit across the desk from you. And they're not going to give you a test like multiple choice, hand you a piece of paper, write an essay. No. They're going to ask you verbally 10 questions. 10 questions out of the 100, and you have to get at least 6 of them right. Right there, that shows that you can listen to what they say, you can speak English, you can comprehend it, and there might even be 1 or 2 questions that you have to write down the answers to, or that you have to read and answer. So that's how they check your proficiency, but also how they check your basic knowledge of American history and government. For those of you who don't know, if you are planning on graduating high school, you also have to take this test. Yes, that's right. Maybe you've heard about the civics test. Every high school student in Arizona to graduate high school must pass a basic American civics exam. So all my seniors and all my juniors who are thinking about graduating this year, keep that in mind. You need to come into the school at some point in time, and you have to take this civics exam. And who's got it tougher, you or the people applying for naturalization? Unfortunately, it's you. You guys take a 100-question test, all about civics, all about American history and American government. So if you haven't started studying for that, you might want to now, because you can't pass high school without passing that test. We, of course, have study guides for you, so if you need one, just go ahead and ask. But those are the 5 requirements of becoming naturalized. Now, once you do all this stuff, woohoo! Congratulations, you are a citizen. And it's actually really cool what they do. They have you come down to the capital, wherever you are, whatever state you're in. Arizona, you'd obviously go down to Phoenix. And they have a nice ceremony for you. They give you a nice little American flag that you wave in your hand. You say the Pledge of Allegiance, which, if you remember, you used to do that back in elementary school. And you become a citizen. And it's a really, really cool experience for people who go through this process. Because one thing I have not mentioned, but I will mention now, is this is not a short process. To become naturalized, we are not talking about a week. We are not talking about a month. We are not talking about a year. We are not talking about multiple years. We're talking about a lot of years, maybe a decade, maybe 15 years. This is a long process. A lot of that has to do with this requirement, number 1, a period of continuous residency. You have to be living here for a while. But you have to be here for a while and be a good person. And this takes a long time. When you start this process, it doesn't just end the next week. And this is normal for all countries. When I got my Italian citizenship, it took me a few years to get my Italian citizenship. It's even harder to get your American citizenship. So it takes a long, long time. So it's a long process, but it's very rewarding, and the ceremony at the end is really cool. It's really cool. But now that you're a citizen, you have some responsibilities, some civic responsibilities. Now, some of these should be showing up on your paper already. Pay taxes is one. You must pay taxes. You have to. That is a requirement. If you don't pay your taxes, they can certainly remove your citizenship. They can deport you. They can throw you in jail. It is very important to pay your taxes. That is something that you should do as a good citizen. That is a civic responsibility. And in fact, if you want to, underneath civic responsibilities, you can write what a good citizen does. The next one is blank, but it has to do with this little machine right here. Maybe some of you know this is a voting box. You must vote. That is something a good citizen does. Now, this is not required by law. In America, you don't have to vote if you don't want to, but a good citizen absolutely votes. In fact, we can change civic responsibilities to something called civic virtue. Civic virtue means being a good citizen. And these are all things a good citizen does. Now, pay taxes? That one, we're going to bold that and we're going to underline it because that is something you have to do. That is not like voting. You must pay taxes. Now, voting is optional. The third one, to be a good citizen, you must obey the law. Have to obey the law. Remember, we're showing good moral character. You have to continue that good character. Once you become a citizen, you can't go murder 15 people and be like, hey, whatever, man, I'm a citizen now. Nothing you can do. No, you still have to obey the law. Of course, obeying the law, that is also required by law. So we're going to bold that one and underline that one as well. The next one, this is very important. You should be informed on the issues of the country, which means you should be listening to the news, watching the news on TV, reading the newspapers, listening to the representatives speak, so that when you go to vote, you know who and what you are voting for. If you go in there and you don't know what you're voting for, that is not very good. You are not informed on the issues. You might as well not even vote. So it's important to know what's going on in the country. That is not required by law, but it is something a good citizen does. The next one is jury duty. And jury duty is what you see these people over here doing. In America, we have a system of justice where we say, to be found guilty, you must be found guilty by a group of your peers. And that's what a jury is. Jury duty, we'll talk about later on in this unit, but that's when you have to come on in to decide whether or not somebody is guilty or not guilty of a crime. Maybe you've seen them on TV. They're called jurors. You receive a letter in the mail saying, come on in, and they'll ask you some questions and decide if they want you to be on the jury. And if they decide yes, you have to listen to and be there every day for a court trial, and you have to decide whether someone is guilty or not guilty. Now, do we think this is required by law? It absolutely is. Jury duty is required by law. If you don't do it when they ask you to, you could go to jail. So make sure if you ever get summoned for jury duty, you follow all the proper procedures. Now, one of the last two, this is very important. If you're a good citizen, you should absolutely volunteer in your community. That's an important one. It's not required by law. So we're not going to underline it or bold it, but you certainly should help out. You should make your community a good place. Now, this could be anything. You could just be picking up some trash. You could volunteer at a homeless shelter or at a soup kitchen. You could donate your time if you don't have money to donate. And you can volunteer to do things in the community to make your community a better place. We all live in different communities and we all want them to be nice. We don't want them to be trashy. So that's a very important thing or aspect of being a good citizen or having civic virtue. Now the last one, any ladies watching, you can tune on out because this is not for you. This is for the fellas. Fellas, once you turn 18, you must register for the Selective Service. And this is the website, sss.gov. We're going to go ahead, we're going to bold this, and we're going to underline this because that is required by law. Now, what is the Selective Service, some of you are asking? So maybe you're thinking, oh, it's the Army. Kind of. It's basically like registering with our country in case there was ever a draft. Now, what's a draft? A draft is when they randomly select people to go to war. We don't have a draft right now, but we have had one in the past, and it's certainly a possibility that we could have one again. So if you are a male and you are a citizen, once you turn 18, you must register for this. And basically, you can't even get out of it. They will just register for you and send you a card saying you have been registered with the Selective Service, and they will have your information. Now, these are the basic responsibilities of a good citizen. Are there other things? Certainly are. Be a good person. Be a good neighbor. You should vote. You should watch the news. You should do all of these things to be a good citizen. But these are the main ones, and there are 4 that are underlined. Those are the 4 that are required by law. The rest are just, things that you should do, not that you have to do. This sums it up for our notes today on citizenship. If you guys have any questions on this, feel free to shoot me an email and I will answer any of those questions as fast as I can. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Say it with me again. Jus sanguinis. No? How about jus soli? Or naturalization. That's not that much fun. But jus sanguinis. Tell me that just doesn't. Feeling a little Italian, actually. Forget the Latin. I feel Italian when I say jus sanguinis. A jus soli. There you go. Jus sanguinis, jus soli, naturalization. That's how you can become a citizen. That is your notes on citizenship. All right. Now, for today's assignment, very simple. Send me your completed notes. Actually, send them to me. Send me a picture of them. I don't care, either one. Show me that you took the notes that we just took, and that's it. That's going to be your attendance question as well. Assignment and attendance are your notes. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Can't wait to see you back here on Tuesday, not Monday. Remember, hit me with a good subject line. It's gone now, but 114, American government assignment with that in it. All right. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care.